Hi, welcome back to the channel. And if you can't spot it, it's getting close to Christmas. I've got my new Christmas jumper on. Isn't it amazing? I've got a hat on, it's a little tree. But most importantly, the great thing about Christmas is that you're able to eat Christmas mince pies. This is the only time of the year that you find mince pies in the shops. And if you're not from the UK and you're not familiar with mince pies, they're not made from mince. There's no meat in them. These are actually a sweet treat. So it's sweet pastry and it's filled with a sort of combination of fruit and just nice, yummy stuff to eat. So what I've done is I've gone and bought all of the luxury mince pies from the 8 biggest supermarkets in the UK. And here they all are. Now, this is a quick tip. You can see that the majority of these boxes, well, I think all of them, have a little see-through panel so you can see the mince pies themselves. Make sure if you're buying mince pies to buy those particular types of pies, because if you buy the ones that are just in a cardboard box, usually it's a red box and they've got a picture of all of the pies on the front, but you can't see anything in it. Those pies have a very long sell-by date and they were probably made last Christmas, maybe even before that. They're not the best. So if you're going to buy mince pies, I know these are more expensive. They're usually around about £1 more expensive, but I think it's worth it because the other mince pies really aren't the best. Now, there's a big range of prices on the supermarket shelves this year, and I've gone from cheapest to most expensive here. So coming in at the very cheapest end is Asda, £1.42 for 6 mince pies. That is a really good price. We have then got Aldi and Lidl, who are both priced at £1.49. Really cheap. Morrisons come in 1p more at £1.50. We've then got Tesco's, which is coming in at £3. Sainsbury's is £3.50, although at the moment they're reduced to £1.75 if you've got a Nectar card. And obviously, if you're shopping at any of these supermarkets, make sure you get the loyalty cards because you always get a better deal. And we've then got the most expensive ones, which are Marks and Spencer and Waitrose at £4 per box. However, Waitrose currently, if you're a Waitrose card holder, are giving away these boxes free. I think it's until December the 8th or something like that. So if you've got a card and you're going to Waitrose and you fancy these mince pies, then you can pick them up for nothing. So what I'm going to do in this video is taste all of these pies and then rank them from best to worst or worst to best, whichever way you want to look at it. So I'll do the test to see, are the most expensive ones the best ones, or actually are these ones at the lower end of the market tastier or as tasty as the expensive ones? So let's get started. So let's crack on with, we'll start at the bottom. So we'll open up this box of, it's really nicely packaged actually. So this is the Asda. It says luxury mince pies filled with warmly spiced mincemeat, intensified with sweet ruby port, Valencian orange oil and cognac. So it's a traditional thing to have some brandy in their cognac. So let's pull these out. So you can see these are slightly different to, if I get one of these out, they look slightly different to the rest of them because they've got sort of holes in them. So they've got mincemeat is poking through in 5 different spaces. A good covering of icing sugar on this. So let me take it out. Looks like a nice thick pie. Let's have a taste of this. Well, my first impression is that the pastry is very thick. So it's thick around the sides and thick across the bottom. So the proportion of mincemeat filling to pastry is slightly off for me. There's too much pastry, not enough filling. The filling itself, it's quite sweet and tasty. I'll have a little bit more. Now you can see here, the pastry is nice. It's sweetened by all of the icing sugar on the top. But I'll put that to one side for a moment because I think we can probably do better than that. I think there are probably better pies here. I'm hoping that there are better pies here in the next 7 boxes. Let's go for Aldi next. Aldi. Not sure how you pronounce that where you live. I say Aldi, I think. Do I say Aldi or do I say Aldi? Can't remember. Okay, so this says 6 all butter mince pies, and these are £1.49. Infused with cognac, ruby port, and dry cider for a rich, deep flavour. So we've got some cider in this one. Didn't have any cider in the Asda one. Now this doesn't have any cellophane wrapping, it just comes straight out of the box. And we can see there's a sort of star shape on the top. You can't see any of the mincemeat, it's completely covered. So let's get this out and have a look. So looks the same, let's have a bite. Still quite thick on the pastry, so a lot of pastry, sides and bottom. The filling is definitely not as tasty. Not as nice as the Asda filling. Overall, not quite as good. I mean, it's still decent. It's an okay mince pie. If you haven't had the cup of tea, that'd be fine. But I think the Asda one, slightly better. Let's move on to Lidl. So Lidl say 6 all butter mince pies, crumbly all butter short crust pastry cases, generously deep filled with lightly spiced mincemeat, laced with brandy and finished with a sweet dusting. So let's open this up and see what the Lidl mince pies are like. So they don't have any cellophane either. So I'll take one of these. I'll take one that's in the middle there. So you can see it's got a sort of star-shaped top, which isn't quite covering all of it, so you can see a bit of the mincemeat poking through, which I think is quite a nice design. Looks quite good, quite heavy. Let's have a bite of it. That's similar to the Aldi one. The mincemeat's okay. It's quite a nice little pie. Not as tasty as the one. So far, I would say that's quite similar to the Lidl one. So these two are pretty similar. So far, the Asda one is definitely the best out of the three that we've tasted. Okay, moving on to Morrisons. So Morrisons says, all butter pastry, 6 deep-filled mince pies. Melt in the mouth, short crust pastry, generously filled with our indulgent mincemeat, infused with brandy and cider, seasoned with warming spices. So let's see what this looks like when we take it out of the packet. So once again, there's no cellophane inside. It's only been the Asda one that's had any actual cellophane protecting the pies. This design, it's got a sort of shaped design on the top, which is completely filling pie. Feels a little bit lighter than the other ones, maybe a little bit smaller. Quite thick pastry again, quite tasty. I think that's slightly better than the Aldi and the Lidl one. Not quite as good as the Asda one. So I think Asda is still leading the charge so far. We've got another 4 to go, so don't worry. Tesco's. Now this is Tesco's finest. So Tesco's have this range that is sort of slightly elevated from the rest of its food. So the finest range is the best you can get. Tesco's. It says 6 all butter pastry mince pies with brandy and port. So quite a short description. Not bothering telling us about all the other stuff that everybody else has. That's pretty tricky to open. Let's open this up. It's quite a difficult box to open actually. All the other boxes have slid open quite easily. This one seems to be quite glued down. So a bit of a pain to open. Don't have any cellophane, but let's see what they look like. So we've got a little star design on there, and it's a little bits of mincemeat poking through, so quite attractive. Again, feels quite light. Looks good. That's interesting. I don't really like that. I mean, it's okay, but it's a bit soft, and the mincemeat doesn't really taste of that much. I think that's the worst one out so far, actually. Tesco. You've gone right straight to the bottom, Tesco. And you were charging £3 for that, so that's double the price of these two and more than double the Asda one, so not so good from Tesco's. Okay, let's move on to Sainsbury's Taste the Difference. Similar to Tesco's Finest, this is the sort of the upper end of the range. It says all butter mince pies with butter pastry, filled with a blend of apples, currants, sultanas, and candied citrus peel infused with brandy. So that's probably the longest description so far. Now this one does have some cellophane inside, so it's double wrapped, basically. I'll take that off. I don't know whether that makes them fresher or not. The Tesco's ones didn't taste that fresh. Now these are quite big compared to some of the other ones. They seem bigger. Got a star-shaped top, a little bit of mincemeat poking through. So let's see what it tastes like. Well, that's the crispiest of all of the different pastries. So when you bite it, the pie actually stays together quite well. Some of the other ones are a bit soft. It's nice. Bit crumbly. Because it's a bit crispy, it's quite crumbly. The mincemeat in that is really tasty. That's nice. I think that's on a par maybe with the Asda one, but I'll have to do another taste test. Towards the end, we'll have the runners and riders and maybe have a final. That was a nice one though. It's definitely way better than the Tesco's one. Okay, we're now into the very premium end of the market. So this is Marks and Spencer, £4 for this. No discounts, no freebie on this one. It doesn't say anything on it. It just says M&S Collection. On the side, it says 6 all butter mince pies, and on the back, it says made with wheat flour and it's boring. So they haven't bothered putting any sort of description. They do have a little pull though. Nobody else has had that so far, so that's quite nice. No cellophane inside, just the pies. And let's see what. So they've got interesting little design with a star shape on there with a little hole in the middle. So with a star shaped, so you can see a little bit of the mincemeat poking through. Oh dear, this is breaking. Let me pull another one out. That one just broke completely when I pulled it out. Let's see if I can get one without it breaking. They're very, very delicate. So this one's breaking as well a little bit. Oh wow, look, it's breaking in half. That's 2 of them broken so far for the M&S one. See if I can tip it out so that it doesn't break. I can pull the bottom off without it falling apart. So far, I'm not that impressed with the M&S ones. 2 of them broke before I could even get them out the cases. So this is what it looks like. It looks a bit like a meat pie on the side, anyway. The pastry is a bit dry. It's got quite a lot of filling in it. And it's nicely shaped. That pastry is definitely a bit dry. More so than any of the other ones here. It's okay. Certainly not worth £4 compared to the rest of the pies here. And as you saw, 2 of them broke as I was trying to pull them out of the case. So if you were giving them to people and they didn't have a plate, that would be mince pie everywhere. Come back to that. Not that impressed with the M&S one. Now we'll finish off with the Waitrose one. So I want to just do a quick taste test and then I'm going to go back and work out what's the best and what's the worst. So as I said, these Waitrose ones, the number 1 Waitrose, which is the premium end of the Waitrose market. 6 brown butter mince pies with cognac. Rich brown butter, pastry filled with glacé, amarena cherry, almond and apricot mincemeat laced with cognac. Delicious, served warm. This has got a ripcord as well, so this was also £4, although I got these ones for free because I've got a Waitrose card, and you'd be crazy not to have one. Let's pull them out. They look a bit different to the other ones. They actually look a bit like pies that you might bake yourself, and looks a bit like a meat pie. So all of the rest of them have got quite fancy things on the top. These haven't, sort of quite boring on the top, which is a bit of a shame, because if you're going to have a mince pie, well, you want to have something that's quite exciting. Comes out of the case easily though, unlike the M&S one, doesn't break. Not that even, a bit bumpy on the top, so they do look a bit more homemade. All the rest of these other ones have a nice standard finish. They all look pretty much the same. These are all looking a bit bumpy. Anyway, let's have a bite of it and see what it's like. You can see there's a bit of a gap at the top. It's a bit hollow. It's nice. The pastry is very sweet, tasty. Quite a lot of pastry on it. Not sure the filling to pastry ratio is quite right on that. Could do with a bit more filling. And also, the brandy that they put in there doesn't taste quite as sweet. It tastes a little bit more liqueur-ish, sort of alcoholic-ish. Not as nice as some of the other ones. Right, let's go back and work out worst to best. Now, these ones I was disappointed with, but I think the Tesco one, I'm going to go back to that because I think this is possibly coming in at the bottom. Tastes okay. Let's taste the little one. The little one is way nicer than Tesco. Tesco, bottom of the league. Even though it's Tesco's finest, that is number 8 on the list. Let's taste this Aldi one again. Aldi one number 7, not great. So let's put this back in the packet, otherwise everything's going to be a bit too huge. Okay, so we've got Tesco at the bottom of the pile, number 8. Really wouldn't recommend those ones. If you're going to bother, get something nice. Aldi, number 7. Now, let me have another taste of the Morrisons one. Let's see what that's like. Quite good. Let's go back to this M&S one. I'm having another go at the Aldi one because I'm not sure about the M&S one. Yeah, M&S is going in at number 7. Not impressed at all with that. They fell apart. They're not that tasty. There's too much pastry. They didn't bother putting any description in the box. They're coming in at number 7. Aldi gets promoted to number 6. So this is the top 5. Let's have another taste of this Waitrose one. Taste the Asda one. Sainsbury's Taste the Difference. Too much pastry on that. Taste the difference, not really. I can't taste the difference for £3.50. They're going in next. Not impressed. Not worth £3.50. Okay, so far we've got Tesco at the bottom. Then we've got Marks and Spencer 7th, Aldi 6th, Sainsbury's 5th. So these are the 4 in contention for the win. Let's taste this again, the Morrisons one. Quite nice that. That is nice actually, the Morrisons one. Lidl, bit thick and pastry. Yeah, pastry is a bit thick on that one. Asda, nice. Waitrose, let's have a taste of this again. Let's just try the Morrison. It's between Morrisons and Waitrose for number 4. Yeah. Waitrose number 4. Too expensive. Bit too much cognac. Quite nice, but not the best. So these are the 3 favourites now. This is going to be the 1, 2, 3. And just to remind you of the price, we're talking £1.42 for Asda, £1.49 for Lidl, and £1.50 for Morrisons, which is half the price of some of these other ones. Right, final taste test. This is it. Top 3. Who's going to win? Asda's tasty. Really tasty filling. The pastry is a bit thick, but let's see how Lidl compares to that. That's really tasty as well. Then we've got Morrisons. Let's have a go at this. Morrisons is going in at number 3. They're nice, but but not quite as tasty as the other two. So better than these ones. I'll turn that around so you can see what we've got here. So it's the final, and it's between Lidl and Asda. Let's have another taste. I'm going to have to bite a new. I'm going to have to bite another one for Asda. I've eaten the whole pie already. I'll probably have to eat all 6 of these. I certainly will over the next few days. Okay. One more bite from Lidl, and then we'll declare the winner. The winner of the mince pies for 2025 from the UK supermarkets is Asda. It's £1.42. It's the cheapest out of all of these pies. It's the best. So Lidl has come in at number 2, but right at the top of the shop are these Asda exceptional 6 luxury mince pies, £1.42. They were the cheapest. They were the second cheapest. They were almost the third cheapest. They were the most expensive from Waitrose. We also had expensive ones from Sainsbury's. 6th, we had Aldi. 7th, Morrison Spencer. And right at the bottom was Tesco's. So, hopefully that's useful for you. Hopefully if you're going to go and buy some mince pies, if it was me, I would definitely recommend heading down to Asda and buying some mince pies, because they are the best and they're also the cheapest. You don't really get better than that. But £1.42 for 6 mince pies is a really good deal. I've really enjoyed trying all these mince pies. Not sure how many mince pies I've just eaten, but it's certainly close to 6, possibly even more than that. So I'm feeling quite full, but do you know what? I'm still really enjoying it. So I'm going to finish off this Asda mince pie. But thank you for watching this video all the way through to the end. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already. If you'd like to see more fun videos like this, hopefully you've enjoyed it. Yeah, give me a thumbs up if you haven't done so, and I will see you again on the next video.